Hello folks, welcome back to another video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. I just got back from work. It's around 8. I got off at 7:30 and I'm just settling in for my night routine. I think I have mastered my bedtime routine for having a good sleep. I have pretty good sleep hygiene, and I think that says a lot as someone who works shift work. I just finished my second day, and so I'm going into my night shifts starting tomorrow night. And so it's really important that I get a good sleep tonight. So I thought that I would take you with me and show you my night routine. Maybe some of the little practices that I do will help you improve your sleep hygiene. I think that sleep is so beyond important. And so I want to share with you everything that I've learned that's helped me. And yeah, this is a bit of like an unconventional nighttime routine. I mean, like, my nighttime routine changes every night depending on where I am and what I'm doing. But obviously I'm getting back from work a bit later, so I'm starting things maybe a little bit later than I normally would. But I'm just gonna unpack the lunch kit, do some dishes. We also are absolute jar hoarders in this house, so I have a couple of jars to scrub the labels off of and put them in our little jar arsenal that we use for water glasses and whatnot. So I'm going to finish that up, and then I'll make a tea and we'll chat about some of the self-care bedtime routine practices that I really vibe with, and then we'll get into the nighttime routine. Okay, so I have my sleepy tea and these amazing chocolate peanut butter hazelnut dates that I made as my dessert meal prep this week. And this is how most of my nights end, with a sleepy tea and some form of chocolate. I don't find that chocolate caffeine affects me in any way. I feel like if anything, I'm probably, my gosh, it's so stormy out there, immune to any caffeine that chocolate contains, because I have been eating chocolate before bed probably my whole life. Oh my god, guys, look at this. Look at these. So good. Oops. But let's have a little chat about sleep and sleep hygiene. I was not always a good sleeper. I had pretty significant social anxiety in high school, and I mean, I would assume elementary school. I feel like it was around as long as I could remember. But I remember even as like a young child just being up a lot before bed, like just kind of like going through the events of my day and just having a really hard time winding down, struggling to fall asleep and just lying there staring up at the ceiling for hours. And I can definitely say that things have changed. I think that I don't have a lot of those moments where I'm like, oh, just waiting for sleep to find me. So let's talk about kind of a couple of the things that I do to set me up for a good sleep. The first thing that I want to chat about is food. I go to sleep pretty early, so I'm pretty disciplined about when I stop eating. This is a bad example. Usually, like, I'm not really one to prolong time between dinner and dessert. I have a huge appetite. That's just how I am. I don't get full that easily, so I always have room. Whereas obviously it's going to be different if you want to have a little sweet treat, but you need a little more time to digest before dinner. I'm just not really like that. But honestly, like at this time of year when it gets dark pretty early on, I'm starting to unwind, around 8. I'm usually in bed by 9. So I will typically eat dinner as early as 5 and, not usually later than 6:30 I'll start eating. I'm not really disciplined around timing. I don't like to set, super strict routines, but that's just what kind of works my body. I start to get hungry around 5. And I just find that the longer that I have between dinner and when I go to sleep, the better sleep that I have. I find when I have after dinner snacks, I just it's food, it energizes you. And so, I find it to be a bit stimulating. So I really try to limit a lot of food intake before bed. I also just find with digestion, if you go and get into bed after having a big meal, you just, you don't feel super good. Gravity is not doing yourself any favors if you go lie down right after eating dinner. So that's something that I've really recognized that helps. And then on the topic of diet or timing around eating, I'll chat a little bit about supplements. So I've tried to limit my supplement routine quite a bit because I used to take a bunch of supplements, and the bioavailability of oral supplements is not great. And so I try to limit to just the ones that I really feel like I feel in my body a benefit from. And then try to, have a well-rounded enough diet where I am getting enough of my micronutrients and minerals in that. And so in terms of supplements specifically for sleep, I take magnesium biglycinate. I also take another form of magnesium, but I make sure to have magnesium biglycinate specifically in my routine for sleep. I take an oral version of it. I also have a spray that I spray on my feet. My mom is a bit crunchy and she told me to do it, and I started doing it, and that in combination with the sleepy tea, I notice a massive difference in my sleep. I don't care if it's placebo, it works for me. And so that's what I do. I'm not saying you need to spray magnesium on your feet to have a good sleep, but I do think, especially as women, having a form of magnesium in kind of your supplementation or just thinking about it in dietary sources, I think is really important. It's probably also why we're addicted to chocolate. Women need magnesium. So that is something that I have recognized a big difference with. And then obviously the sleepy tea. I like this one from Yogi. I'm not a huge chamomile forward tea drinker. I like something that's a little bit more or less chamomile forward, and I feel like this is a good medium for me. I also like I think it's Traditional Medicinal's lemon balm, night one. A lemon tea is also quite nice. But yeah, I do see a huge difference when I'm drinking this regularly before bed versus when I'm not. And I'm not a huge tea drinker before bed. So sometimes I'll just brew it and just kind of chug it down. But it has been a nice addition to my routine when I sit with it and have a nice little drink. This is also one of my favorite. You can't really tell in this light, but it's a little bubble mug, and I have my sleepy tea in it every evening. Okay. Another thing that I want to chat about is phone use or just screen use before bed. This is not something that I am an expert in by any means. If anything, I have fallen into the trap of Instagram reels before bed for maybe the last, I don't know, when did Instagram reels come up around? Maybe the last 6 years of my life. I have a really active brain. I struggle to shut it off. And I found that if I can dissociate with Instagram reels before bed, I really use it as a wind down tactic. Do not recommend. I don't get bad sleeps by any means when I watch the Instagram reels, but I do notice when I read before bed or just at least watch more long form content like YouTube or a series or movie on Netflix or a streaming platform, I do sleep deeper, or what feels to me is deeper. When you've just had a okay sleep and then it's whoa, I woke up to my alarm and I was like in REM sleep and like dreaming. And yeah, I notice especially when I read or just have no screens period before bed, I notice a difference. That said, that it is challenging. I find it really challenging to put my phone down. So when people say that, I'm like, yeah, I know it's good for me, but it's hard. So that's something that I've been working on lately. Having a really good book that's like an easy read almost before bed, I find is really helpful. I really got into reading when I was a lot younger and started reading like really like what I would consider like more like heavy literature type books. And then I found in my adulthood, especially when I was studying full time, I just need something dumb. And so I've been reading The Housemaid, which is got a new movie coming out with Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried. And yeah, it almost feels like a TikTok or an Instagram reel. I don't have TikTok, but Instagram reels are no better, I'm not lying to you. But yeah, that book feels like such a page turner and such easy reading that yeah, it's not hard to pick up at the end of the day. So I think that finding something like that is also really helpful. But yeah, that's my thoughts on screen use. I also have like night mode on my phone turned on 24/7. There is like, I don't like any sort of blue light on a screen, even at work, like when I'm charting. I have, if possible, like the computers that I'm working on are on night shift, like just the warmer screen, and it just doesn't give me a headache. So even if it's not really correlated with sleep, which I know that it is, it's easier on the eyes, it's easier on the brain. So those are my thoughts on diet and screens. And then just having a set routine, I think, is important. Like I have a nice warm shower every night. I think that really kind of gets me in the mindset around going to bed. I have like the same teeth routine, the same skin routine, and then just kind of having like a little bit of mindfulness. It kind of changes whether I journal in the morning or the night, but just kind of like checking in with myself at the end of the day is really helpful. Whether that be like, yeah, yoga or like a quick meditation, or just kind of like sitting with my thoughts while I'm brushing my teeth, just something, you know? Everyone has a different capacity based on the day. And then when I am really disciplined, which hasn't happened for a while, but there was a phase where I really got into listening to guided meditations before bed. And I do really enjoy that on days where I'm feeling like that could be something I'm willing to, yeah, get into before bed. Just kind of spewing out random things at this point, but having my phone plugged in so that I can't reach it when I'm sleeping or like in and out of sleep. I have to get out of my bed to get to the phone is helpful. So those are my tips coming from someone who doesn't have the perfect routine, but is learning and trying to constantly improve upon my practices. And then just to chat about waking up. So I think that's an important piece as well. At this time of year, really challenging to get up and out of bed when it's pitch black out. So I do have little whiz light bulbs that can connect to your phone, and you can set them to turn on at a certain time. So I have like them turn on when my alarm goes off. That helps tremendously. I think there's a lot of chat about getting up and straight out of bed when you wake up in the morning. That's great if you need that to get up at all. Like if some people, if they linger, then they're lingering for hours. I do think that if you have the opportunity, just like waking up a little bit more slowly is a nicer transition into the day, and maybe not beating yourself up for not getting out of bed in the first 30 seconds of being awake, taking a minute or so to just, wake up the nervous system, welcome in the day before jumping out of bed. And then, there was one other thing I wanted to say about wake up. Oh yeah, dream journal. I really got into dreams like a year or so ago, and I was doing all these things to try to trigger really, I wouldn't say intense dreams, but I was trying to be more mindful about my dreams. And I found when I had a dream journal next to my bed and just did like a little annotation about my dream from the previous night, I would not only remember my dreams a lot better, but I feel like I was just vividly dreaming a lot more in general. But that's also, I think, that people dream and then forget. So maybe it was just the act of remembering. But that might, if you're interested in dreams, having a little dream journal might be a practice that you want to start incorporating. That was really cool, and I would like to get into that. But those are my tips on going to bed and waking up. That was really long. I don't know if I'll cut some of that, but let's get into the night routine, because that's why you're all here, not just to hear me gab, but I do love to gab about a good night routine. So yeah, let's start with the date. I've been waiting for this. Yeah, these are insane. So good. Okay. I will see you in a sec. Okie doke. I'm gonna do a little bit of yoga and I think like a quick meditation. I try when I'm back from my day shifts to just kind of be disciplined about doing some sort of yoga practice, because I mean I try to do yoga every day, but being really flexible about what that yoga practice is. Because some days I come home and I have a lot of energy, like today, like I had a pretty good chill day at work, so I'm more energized, whereas some days I come home and I just want to go to bed, and I'm like, come on Emma, you'll feel really good if you just do like 3 poses, whereas today I think that I'll give my body a little something and then we'll head upstairs. But yeah, let's do some yoga. Also, these flossers are not single-use plastic. I mean, they kind of are, but they're an eco brand made out of recycled plastic, and I'm gross. I don't single use them. I use them multiple times. So yeah, it's something that I feel guilty about. So I try to do it in the best way possible, but not guilty enough to use the other floss, because I hate flossing with the long. It's shower time. I feel so clean. And then we always put Aquaphor on the eyelids in this household. No need for fancy eye cream. There's truly nothing better. What eye bags? I don't know what you're talking about. All greased up. Sorry for my lisp for the rest of the night. It's let's go get cozy. So cozy in here. Something that I also like to do is I have 2 lamps in my room and both are set to an almost red setting. It's like reddy orange, and I think that that is just a nice, well, they say that red light is really important, like almost tricking the brain into thinking that the sun is setting. And also I just kind of like the vibe that it gives in here, but I always have my light set to that setting before bed. Another thing that I like to do is always sleep with the window open. So I'll just crack this just a little bit. As someone who runs cold, I personally think that having a cold room and a really warm bed is the ultimate sleep environment. I have a heating pack, or like a heating pad, and also like a pretty plush duvet. And so if I make my little bed ecosystem really warm, I do think that there is something to be said about having better sleeps in a cold room. And it's also really nice to just like hear outside and the nature and the birds in the morning and the rain if it's raining. I just think that it's nice to have the window open, and also just for fresh air, because I find when I sleep with the window closed, I'll wake up with a really sore throat and feeling really dry in the morning from the dry heat. So that is something that I also like to do before bed, is open the window and close my vent. And then yeah, we're gonna get all cozy in bed here, and I think I am going to read my book for a little bit and then spray the magnesium on my feet. And then the last thing I do that I feel like some people are going to find maybe a little bit overkill is that I tape my mouth. I'm a certified mouth breather, unfortunately. I've been told that I have a habit of heavy mouth breathing in my sleep. I've heard that you don't really want to breathe through your mouth and you want to breathe through your nose. And I've cared for a lot of people with sleep apnea and sleep breathing problems. And so I want to encourage breathing out of my nose. In doing that, I've been taping my mouth. And it might be another placebo, but I do think that I sleep better and I don't wake up with a sore, dry mouth. So I've got this little tape that I keep on my bed frame, and right before I go to sleep, I will tape my mouth shut. That is my last sleep practice. I'm gonna get all cozy in bed. I'm super excited, and probably read for half an hour to 45 minutes. And then at that time, it will be time for bed. So I might check in with you again, I might not, but thank you for watching the video anyways. Please tell me your crazy, or maybe not crazy, sleep practices that have helped you sleep more restfully at night. I would love to hear them. And yeah, I hope you have a good sleep tonight, wherever you are in the world, and yeah, I'll see you soon. So I would maybe not recommend a psychological thriller as your bedtime read, because now both my roommates are away and I am feeling maybe a little bit frightened in our empty house at the moment. So I've been trying to read A Return to Love by, is it Julianne Williamson? I'm not sure. The name is cut off. So I think I might read a chapter from that just to wind down. And then go to bed. If you have read A Return to Love and you loved it, I would love to hear your review, because I've heard wonderful things, but I just haven't been very motivated to get into it. So please motivate me. Okay, I'm gonna do that then I'm going to go to sleep.